what's up?
What's up?
Hey, good
What's going
afternoon,
on, man?
everybody. Hump day, hump day. Got a couple of more days to the weekend.
That's right. A few more days. A few more days till we make history, y'all. A few more
You're
days till we
right.
make history.
Making history.
Yeah, man. That's actually good because that's what we're gonna be talking about today. Having a discussion about the history and some of the methods that we use as researchers, whether we're talking about genetic genealogy or talking about more of researching the cultural heritage. Of course, we have Brother Dom here,
What's
who
up?
is our researcher and our education director. And so we really want to have a conversation with you, man. But before that, how y'all doing? What's good with the bird, man? What's it sound like over there right now? People ready to come show up on Saturday?
You go first, Baba.
I believe so from what I'm hearing and what I see on social media. I think we should have a good a good outing. It's supposed to be a nice, sunny, bright day. The weekend is coming up, man. I think we're gonna make history this weekend.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm thinking too. But I was thinking heavily about that yesterday when I went for a walk. I'm like, man, we making history. Like, this is historical. Like, no one has
Yeah.
ever done this. No one. Period.
Yeah. Elaborate on it, man, because there was a time in our history, just as South Carolinians as a whole, that a lot of that the history of our enslavement and the memory of it was like hidden. People didn't want to talk about it. It was trauma.
Yeah.
It was bad memories.
Mhm.
But from your research and I just want to say again, I really appreciate your style of research.
Right.
When you research history, you want to go for first-hand accounts.
Yes.
You want to go for a living person at the time saying what it is to them.
Yes.
And then you want to weigh that against the other factors, right?
Yes. Cross-reference. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen you do that magically in terms of not only Orangeburg, but other counties and other places.
Yes.
And things like that. And I think we asked you before in the interview we had with you, like, what is your method? But I want to go deeper than that. When you do this research, how, like, are you following instincts or are you like following actual clues?
I'm following actual clues, man. Like, I like to describe myself as like an amateur historical detective, man. Like, any jewels, like I got this saying, follow the jewels to the treasure chest, man. So that means the books, the academic journals, newspaper articles, and if they're out there, field recordings of people actually talking from that time and point in history.
Yeah.
I don't believe just in going down a rabbit hole. I believe in going to find out what other hole the rabbit coming out of, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's important to do that, to make sure we research. A lot of people have ideals and they're preaching and teaching and they don't have no factual basis for it. And I've seen you go into different areas of our history, from the civil rights history struggle. And I've seen you pull facts that I've never heard in my life about, particularly Orangeburg. I'm like, wow. Then also the cultural as well. Can you share with us, like, what is, let me say, your top find when it comes to the culture?
Oh,
the Gullah
my
Geechee
God.
culture in Orangeburg. Like, can you talk about what you found so far in your research? Because I'm telling you, brother, when you hit the stage on Saturday, they don't know what they getting, but I do. I'm just trying to give them a little taste of it.
Right, give them little samples and stuff. Ooh, my biggest surprises, man. Wow. Like, just like I said, 4 years ago, like, just the whole idea that vestiges and aspects of quote unquote Gullah Geechee culture traveled inland into Orangeburg was the biggest surprise to me at that time. And then also making those connections and finding like linguistic connections, like terms like Yana, Bo, Gwine, Crack T, I could go on and on and on. And then also my recent discoveries of, finding out how Andre became what it is today and realizing that the more lower country part of Orangeburg, like Holly Hill and Utahville, was annexed from Berkeley County in 1908. And then also, that brings in more quote unquote Gullah Geechee influences in. So you got an African numeral system in which I found. You got the ring shout and possibility. Jalen pointed this out for me that it was sweetgrass. So there's a possibility that sweetgrass baskets are also being made up this way, which Baba, I think you said that your grandmother made baskets as well.
Correct. That's right. We used to keep some on the side of the barn, on my maternal grandmother's place.
Right.
Yeah. Now, how do you tie that into your? Because you talk about your grandfather a lot. So how does that fit in with your family history?
Well, family history wise, like I said, it was a lot of terms. I still hear to this day that when I was coming up, I didn't have no mind. When I thought about Gullah Geechee culture, just like all together, I just thought it was just limited to just the Low Country and Sea Islands. I had no idea that, like I said, it traveled inland and was scattered all over the place due to, enslavement and voluntary migration. So, I grew up hearing certain terms being used, and then also my parents and grandparents, they grew up hearing terms that their grandparents and uncles and aunts used that are no longer used today.
Now, y'all from the Willow Town, Norway section of
Willow Township. Yeah.
Right? That's a deep history out there. That's where my folks come from. Where Keith come from. Out there on Willow Swamp Road, Road, in that area. So and you tied in that area with the Geechee culture?
Yes, because my grandparents, especially my grandfather, he would say that it was certain terms and pronunciations that his parents and grandparents would use that are no longer heard today as well. So for example, the way he said his grandfather would pronounce car. Now we don't say it. I'm not saying it in the quote unquote standard American way, car. I say car, but the way he pronounced it, it had like a hard U sound, like cur, like it was a certain way he pronounced it. And also, playfully up this way, you might hear people say cutting. Like if you got a cousin named Joey, or so you might say, instead of saying cousin Joey, sometimes they might say cutting Joe or cutting Joey.
Hey, chop it up, huh?
Yeah. And I was watching.
We're known for chopping words in half. That's sort of like Jamaican patois. They do the same thing. They chop words up.
Yeah, and when I heard that said cutting, and I remember I was watching this dude on TikTok. I think his name is Gullah Grits or something like that. He's from like Charleston or Beaufort. He said one of the ways they pronounce cousin is cutting. So I'm like, okay, there's another linguistic connection.
Yeah. Go ahead, Baba.
Oh no, didn't you find a recording one time of some people down around Utahville, Hollywood area?
I found two. One, Lawton Rutledge, a white man, by the way, who was from the Utahville area. And he said, and because they spoke about the Gullah, as in the recording from 1963 between 1965, they spoke about the Gullah Geechee language up that way on that side of Orangeburg. He said that they called it Santee River Talk. And then he went into details on how they pronounce certain words and things, but the very idea that they referred to that the Gullah language on that side of Orangeburg as Santee River Talk spoke volumes to me. And then he went deeper into certain traditions that we would associate with just like the Low Country and Sea Island areas, like people painting their houses like that haint blue, that shade of blue that you mostly commonly hear about. That was done on that side of Orangeburg.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the lady.
Chief, go ahead, Chief.
No, go ahead, Baba. My bad.
No, keep on with Dominique, because when I come with my question is going to be for you. So you can keep on with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to ask Dom, in terms of the linguistics, right?
Yeah.
Like the last 2 days, we've talked about the fact that in this first historic Orangeburg festival, we'll be honoring Dr. Lorenzo Doe Turner.
Yes, we will.
Who was the first African-American linguist in history that actually, he's actually one of the foundations in terms of when you say African-American studies today. Yeah. He was actually one of the pioneers of that movement, but his field was linguistics.
Yeah.
We talked yesterday about how widespread the language originally was.
Yeah.
And it was the language that originally distinguished us from the average Black American person. So in other words, Europeans would hear us speak and immediately say, "That's Geechee.
Yeah.
That's a Gullah." It wasn't. We could wear the same clothes. We could have the same religion. We could look identical to a Black American from somewhere else or African from somewhere else.
Yeah.
But once we open our mouth and start talking, it was the language that was like the key identifier. And you know, we talk about the migrations, voluntarily and forced migrations,
Yes.
and how language travels. A lot of our language actually traveled across the Atlantic.
Yep.
This is why we have the Africanisms in our languages, right? So you know it had to travel to Mississippi. You know it had to travel to Alabama.
Yes, it did.
It had to travel everywhere our people went because it's a full language. And I think that's what Dr. Lorenzo Doe Turner's greatest achievement was. That he wasn't just studying a funny way that people talked. He was proving that every aspect of a authentic language exists within the way that Gullah Geechee people talk. And so I think that the cultural identity and everything like that got attached to the language.
Yeah.
And so when they begin the process of forcing us off of our land and we become decreolized through the educational system, I believe what happens is that in people's minds, if you're not talking like a Geechee, if you're not talking like a Gullah, you ain't no Gullah, you ain't no Geechee.
Exactly.
And so there's history that can explain why we don't talk like grandpa them. We don't talk like grandma them.
And one of the main reasons is because of migration and also the standardized American education system. Like, no, don't pronounce it this way, pronounce it that way, and things of that sort, which leads to people doing the code switching thing. But like, you know, like up this way, the final result that comes after decreolization are the loan words. And like I said, up this way and all over the Midland area and possibly even up in the upper country, I'm not sure, you got the loan words that prove the connections.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's obvious. It's obvious.
Yeah, like.
Yeah. So before we go on, Baba, I want to ask Don real quick too. When you're researching the history of Orangeburg, because I've learned about lynchings from you. I've learned intimate details of the Norway uprising when people stood up for the community.
In 1903.
Yeah, and you know, if you can Google this stuff, but it doesn't give you the details. It just tell you.
We can't hear you. Yeah, I can't hear you. All right.
Oh yeah, well, you're gonna explain some of that there, Dominique, or?
You mean dealing with the lynching and the other events?
Like you know,
the research process to dig deeper.
The Hamburg massacre and all that was up around the Norway area, and I think there was an uprising in Norway itself that might be connected to the
in 1903. Yes, after Charles Evans was lynched because he was accused of killing a Confederate soldier by the name of, I believe, John T. Phillips. Him and his brother were both accused, and both of them were jailed. You know, I'm shuffling through events, but after there was a white mob came and grabbed Charles out of the prison, lynched him, and after they lynched him, they shot his body up.
Yeah.
The research process, you got to go beyond just the Wikipedia page. You got to find the newspaper clippings. And that helps piece the puzzle together. And I found a couple clippings dealing with that. And also, you know, a certain prominent civil rights activist, he connects to that as well. I remember I told you his name.
Yeah.
I'm a messenger. So you got to go deeper than just Wikipedia and the pages. You got to go out here and look for the newspaper clippings, and also if it's in books. Another thing, way I do my research, you got to go to the sources and references, see what the scholars and authors are getting their information from, and then go there and then go even deeper.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And I think you have a good knack for picking out the small details. You surprised me a lot because I could tell that, you know, he's paying attention to what he's reading.
Yeah.
And you never know where a small detail can lead you, because For myself, I can one little thing can lead me in a particular direction, and you just never know where you're going to end up at. It happens to me
all the time,
all the time,
Baba.
all the time,
all the time. Yeah,
you definitely got the magic, especially with the genetic genealogy.
Yeah, you do.
Baba has a knack. Baba could look at your profile with a day or two. He's pouring out, boom, boom, boom. You know, you connected to this person. Hey, you see this? Look, I'm from Africa. You be like, man, Baba, what are you doing?
That comes from remembering the oral history and family names that I got from my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I know the old family names, and if you tell me a certain name, I can pretty much tell you what section of town you come from. Like Dominique's name itself, Holiday. That's a Norway name. That's a niece's name.
Yeah,
Most Schulers will come from Bowman. Well, as you well know, most Cleckleys will come from Cope. Johnsons will come from Cope. It's Butlers. They were those names. They're family names. They're well known in this area. But I got a question for Chief. Chief, since you're over in West Africa, you've been over in West Africa for a decade now, I believe 10, 12 years. What is it like being a Gullah Geechee descendant with Orangeburg roots in Sierra Leone?
Mm-hmm. Wow. And another thing too, I want to touch on what you said, oral history. Like that's another way I do my cross references too. Like you gotta talk to people, mainly older people, because their memory, their memory goes a little more extensive. You gotta talk to them because within that oral history, there's a lot of nuggets and jewels you can collect. And I've collected and documented a lot of them. A lot.
Yeah, man.
From people I know and don't know.
Well, Baba, to answer your question, right? For me, I think it's a lot of pros and cons to how it feels to be here and be just in general. But to have known since I was a small boy that my family has a Gullah Geechee connection, for me, it's not coming from research. For me, it's coming from oral history, just like what Dominique is saying. My mother was able to track orally her family back to Ridgeville, which of course is even within the corridor boundaries. It's undeniably a Gullah Geechee community, and so we always looked at it like that anyway. Yeah, we Geechee, we talk funny because we from down there, and but another side of my family is strictly Orangeburg, and the thing is, a lot of people put Orangeburg out of the Gullah Geechee culture, the realm of Gullah Geechee culture. So somehow, some way, people believe that Charleston, Savannah, and Beaufort, and Jacksonville, and all these other places have the culture, but Orangeburg don't. And I don't understand how that can happen, but it might be a little deeper prejudice or something within there, some kind of deeper antagonism.
Yeah, it's there.
But some people are offended if you say, hey, I'm a Gullah Geechee, I'm from Orangeburg. What? Ain't no Gullah Geechees in Orangeburg, immediately. With ignorantly, with no knowledge of who we are, with no background research. So for me, I feel like I know I'm a Geechee. I've always been know I was a Geechee. I'm a come here. I'm born in Pennsylvania, spent most of my life in Pennsylvania. I used to go down south all the time for family reasons, but other than 2 years, I've never really lived there. I lived there for 4th grade and 5th grade. And I moved back up north. So I got my experience, but not enough to really say I'm a bona fide Southerner in my own cultural makeup. I'm from the East Coast. But so that doesn't help either. Coming from the East Coast, mom and daddy from Orangeburg, people down south in South Carolina make a barrier between Charleston and Orangeburg, whereas people in Charleston got one culture that people in Orangeburg ain't got. And it's a stigma. And so for me, to answer your question, Baba, I always wore it with pride. I wore the South with pride, even growing up north. And Orangeburg in my house was always home. In my mama's house, when she said we going home, it didn't mean we was going to Philadelphia or no, we was going to Orangeburg. So I always carried it like that. I always felt Orangeburg like that. I think there's a lot of people who represent the Orangeburg diaspora that have that strong connection to the burg as well. So I'm just one of them.
Right.
But at the same time, when I got out here, I started to research and try to find out, you know, how well the people here knew our culture, knew our identity. And early on, there was a lot of infighting between myself and a group of us who was organizing this Ganona. And then several other groups of Gullahs, individuals who are Gullahs in the Low Country. They just felt like we was imposing on their territory or trying to do something that we didn't have a right to do. We're from Orangeburg, what we talking about? And you know, so at first it was kind of like, man, I can't even be who I am without it being a problem for somebody, right? And then I realized that it's because Sierra Leone has such an important role to play within the Gullah Geechee history and culture that for someone like me who would be considered unaffiliated, outside of the corridor, come here, he just got the roots, he just got the bloodline, kind of person to be here.
Yeah.
The people on that side never said, okay, yes, that's our Gullah Geechee brother over there. Help him. He's representing all of us. Never one time. What they've done is they put doubt in the minds of the people that I have to deal with here about my own Gullah Geechee identity. So when I say I'm a Gullah Geechee, people here would doubt it because people in the Gullah Geechee community have thrown doubt on my identity based on coming from Orangeburg.
Right.
Based on Orangeburg being where my family is from.
Right.
And so for some years there, it was disturbing almost. It was like, man, I can't be who I am and just be happy at that. If I go to the government and say, hey, you know, I'm a Gullah Geechee, I'm in this group, I like to do X, Y, and Z, the government already deals with other groups of Gullahs out there. And as soon as they pick up the phone and say, hey, you know these guys, you know this group, they hate. So the door don't get open.
Right.
So, man, what is this? And so at first I was frustrated, like, man, this is diabolical. I'm just going to stop identifying. Why am I even saying I'm Gullah Geechee for? If it's such a problem for people, right? Later on, I realized that it was deliberate. That the attack that I was getting wasn't only happening to me, it was happening to other people who was being pushed out of their own identity as well. When I understood that, I was like, oh man, you know, this is an internal, within the community struggle that we have to engage in. And the best way to do it is through education. We don't have to fight. We don't have to debate.
No.
We don't have to discredit each other. All we have to do is, if we claim we Gullah Geechees, is do our due diligence research, bring forth our evidence, rep our culture, and keep going, because the reality is that no one can validate who we are and who we are not when it's ancestral, when it comes down in lineage. Exactly. If I don't speak the language, it doesn't make me any less of a Gullah Geechee descendant. And so we've had to, because of that, rationalize and understand what Gullah Geechee is from a different perspective than just the Sea Island, coastal, low country perspective. But from the perspective of people who moved inland, people who ended up in the north, and what about those people that want to trace their roots back and identify with their culture? You know what I mean? So that became our mission.
Yeah.
Recently, over the last 3 or 4 years, especially working with Baba Kimo. Baba Kimo, you've been a second charge for me, because I was already charged up. But once I met you, I'm like, man, that's my cousin. Oh yeah, he must got the same spirit I got. Over time, I realized, man, I'm trying to keep up with you. You know what I mean? So it's a thing where many Gullah Geechee descendants do not identify. Many Gullah Geechee descendants do not know that they can identify by descent. Right. Many Gullah Geechee people think they have to live in the corridor and speak a certain way and be able to make baskets and dance a certain way. Or if they're not that, then they're not really Gullah Geechees, and that is a problem. And so
that's an ill.
One of the reasons why we started the Gullah Nation of North America was to address that. another reason was because we realized that everything Gullah Geechee was within a certain territory and was under federal control in terms of who was going to be recognized and who was not going to be recognized, and who was going to get what funding, and who wasn't going to get what funding. So we wanted to do something more politically independent, something that would separate us from what everyone else is doing, so that we can represent our culture for ourselves. Now, once we start doing the research and start finding relatives out here through DNA and things like that, it started making complete sense. Now, being a Gullah Geechee in Freetown, Sierra Leone is like being in a place that your ancestors created. That's what it's like. Being in Freetown is like, I'm in Africa, but I'm in a town that my ancestors founded.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I hear people talk Creole, and I'm like, yo, I already know this language.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a thing where being a Gullah Geechee and living in Sierra Leone is like living in South Carolina. It feels like living at home almost, right? Just because the cultural vibe of it, the way people behave and the way they carry their spirituality and everything is very, very similar. Very, very similar. You go to another place and everything is strange to you. But here, a lot will be familiar to you. You be like, man, oh, we do that too. Y'all do that? Oh man, we do that too.
Right.
So you see our culture here in Freetown live. It'll jump up and smack you in your face. You be like, damn, y'all do that? And they won't know where they got it from, but we will.
That's very relevant, because I remember when your friend, Godfather Nat Stevens, when he went to the village and got that video for us.
Oh yeah.
It was like looking into the faces of family members. The exact same faces that was in that video. I can see reminiscences of them here in Colt. It was amazing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Even the mannerisms with the young fella walking around, the way the lady sat on the bench, it's just same thing like what we do here. So
Yeah.
I even it's a Sankofa. Even though I haven't been over there yet, it's still a Sankofa experience as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I can relate to that as well, because like I said, I have not been on the continent yet, but I've corresponded with close to 10 people for the last 10 years from the continent. And there's certain things, there's plenty of things that we do in the South, specifically South Carolina, that I've been told. They said, like, yeah, we do that here. Like, oh, that is so African what y'all doing. Like,
yeah. You know, when Africans go to South Carolina, that's what they feel.
Mm-hmm.
They be walking around like, man, they doing the same stuff we doing. Do they know they doing it? And sometimes we're doing the same thing with a different reason, a different rationale. And that shows you that the culture survived, but it may have adapted and changed at the same time. And that's what culture does. So it's completely understandable, right?
Not static.
And so that's one thing about it, Baba, is that when you're here, you know that you're in a place that your culture exists.
Mm-hmm.
That root culture is here. And then also, of course, people look like you. I see a lot of people that look like a lot of people. You can see that genetically, we have a strong connection to this place. You know how you can look at people. You can say, yeah, he look like he from South Carolina somewhere. He look like he from Georgia somewhere.
Yeah.
Big bones, certain complexion, certain body build,
facial features, and all of that. Yeah,
it's all here, especially in Freetown, because Freetown is like a Pan-African metropole. Because people from different places, from Jamaica, from America, from Europe, from all Central and West Africa, came to this one city and have been admixing this whole time with the native Sierra Leoneans as well. So it's a look, and it's distinct, and they look like us here. They cook like us here. So being here, Baba, it's been challenging. Like you said, being from Orangeburg has been challenging because people put Orangeburg out of the Gullah Geechee corridor typically. But other than that, finding out who our cousins is, meeting Fatia, you know what I'm saying? Finding out that me and Godfather, a man who I was working with for years before I even knew anything about a DNA connection, we have shared cousins. We have a
Yeah.
shared cousin. I was working with this man for years. R.I.P. man. Godfather just passed away on February 4th, man. But he was a brother who had grew up already knowing about Gullah Geechees because he grew up along the coast in a place called Shingay. And right across from Shingay is an island. That island used to be called Plantain Island. Plantain Island was a slave trade island. So when he was a young boy, his grandma told him nobody lives there because they used to do slavery there. And so when he got older and started learning about slavery, he learned about the Gullahs. So he was already like an advocate and activist for us before I met him, long before I ever met him. But to meet me, I was the first Gullah that he was able to connect with. And then come to find out that we have this shared cousins. That my cousin Baba Kimo and his cousin Ben Coley, they match in DNA. And when we did the research, his village, where he just passed away at, is one of the family connection villages for Baba Kimo and I, and many other people in Orangeburg County or with those roots. There's a lot of people who left here. They was related on this side, and ended up on the same districts and in the same plantations on the other side. So mothers, brothers, cousins, sisters was together on them slave ships.
Yeah.
And sometimes they ended up on the same plantation or owned by the same family on several plantations. So the DNA now is exposing how they was taking people from the same locations and taking them to the same locations because Fatia is connecting us to Meshach. Meshach is connecting us to Safamanda. So we're connecting to different ethnicities through one lineage.
Right.
That's the key point right there because Fatia not only matches with me, she matches up with at least about 5 collectively relatives directly, but she's also matches with other people here in the Orangeburg area. I told you about Vincent Pendarvis, who was another one of your matches. She's matching up with people on the Sharperson side, on the Jameson side. So that tells me that maybe a family village got raided, or at least a locale, the same location got raided maybe multiple times, and they all ended up here in Orangeburg.
Right.
And you know, in terms of research, we're talking about research today. What I've been able to find here, oftentimes when I share it with Sierra Leoneans, they be mind blown. Like, how do you know that? How did you put our history together like that? It's because, like you, cuz I do similar thing. I got a niche for it. Information calls me, you know, and so I was trying to understand the ethnicities in the country, and I started researching every single one as much as I could. This is even before I got here. I was already researching the country,
right?
And what I realized was that almost every ethnic group in this country is new, and it's made up of groups that migrated to the country.
Right.
And then in the country, they admixed and they created a new ethnicity. And so there was a lot of new communities formed in Sierra Leone at the same time while our ancestors were being carried out.
Right.
And so I said, I said, how could this happen? And I researched, and I realized that the Mende people, who we're strongly connected to, that they are one of many different groups of what we call Mandang people. Mandang is the language they speak, like Gullah. You got different variants, different dialects.
Yeah.
Well, Mandang is one of the dominant languages within this West African region because it was the official language of the Mali Empire. So even whether you was Mandinka or not, you had to know the language because you was in the empire. Like English, you don't have to be a English person in America. You better know how to speak the language because it's the official language.
Right.
So in Mandang, in Mali, the Mandang language was the official language. So everybody had to be able to speak the language. Today they identify almost 100 groups that represent this one family of languages, right?
Right.
Well,
right.
the Mende people are a branch of that. And so I said, okay, let me research this. These different Mandang groups in Sierra Leone came with different migrations For instance, the Korenko came with a Mansa. His name was Mansa Kama. He was an elephant hunter. He came, and the group that he established here today is known as Korenko. The Kono people, they came from a place called Konomani. Some would say Konosu. And that was, again, a place in Mali considered Manding by region, and they migrated here. They're neighbors of the Korenko in the eastern part and the northern part of Sierra Leone. Then you have another group called Mende, where they say they come out of Kinema originally. The word Kinema is also related to the word Kenedugu. Kenedugu is a kingdom that was established by the Traore family of Mandinka Julas from Kankan originally. And so you find the people and the countries and the names like matching the places here too. So what it says is that the people of Mali Empire ended up here along with the people who was here before they got here. And the people who was here was already trading with the Europeans when the people from Mali got here. When the people from Mali got here, they was considered land grabbers and squatters.
Yeah.
And they began to get into disputes, wars, fights. And of course, the European, he fed off of that.
Yeah.
And so I was able to understand the political, the military context of us becoming captives of war. And the fact that the Mende people, out of all the groups in Sierra Leone, are the only group of people that used to fortify their villages. Why did they fortify their villages? And why is everybody's DNA coming back close to the Mende people? So yes, they took whole villages out. In fact, when you talk about remember the story of Amistad?
Yeah.
It was centered around the Europeans say Sinke.
Yeah.
But his name was Singbe. His name is Singbe, Singbe Pierre. And so if you remember, even in the movie, it depicted him being in the village with all his family and him going out to his rice fields and getting captured, right? Well, when he finally fought for the freedom, got back to Sierra Leone, he went back to his village and nothing was there. Nobody was there. No buildings were standing. Everything had been destroyed. So my thing is, what happened to the people in his village?
Captives.
Who took his village? And so this is the kind of activity that was happening here in southern Sierra Leone on a regular basis. And the people that was largely being victimized were people who were refugees from Mali. People who, as Mali collapsed, they ran to this region for better opportunities and got caught up.
And see, when I do my style of research and looking through DNA results, I see it's easy to spot Malayan ancestry and see those descendants here in America, in South Carolina. A lot of us are descendants of the Mali Empire. We just don't know it.
And to add to that, okay, there's a picture of this Mandinka, who I can assume is a Mandinka man, who was, matter of fact, there was this white guy back in the 1850s. He went around taking pictures of enslaved people in Colombia. And out of those, it was, I think, 4 pictures of people born in Africa. One of them was a Mandinka. His name was Richard Mensa. Mm. And I had one of my buddies, Clarence, and he said that name Mensa. He said, yeah, I think he said it goes along with star. It means star or something like that in the Mandinka language. And Mensa, he lived and died in Richland County after enslavement ended. And to add to that, also, I found a Mandinka numeral system that was used and documented in Georgia. So that helped tie in things culturally with the word.
They also said that the Masons.
Go ahead.
No, they also said that even the Masons had a secret language.
Yes, they did. Yeah, Mandingo.
It was Mandinka.
Yeah. Got the newspaper clipping.
That's the reason why, is because so many different people from Africa had Mandinka as a second or third language. Because of the dominance of the empire. So even if you was Fula, you spoke Mandinka. Even if you was Timni, you spoke Mandinka. In fact, the Timni speak what they call the Atlantic Congo language. That's the language of the Wolof, the language of the Balanta, the language of the Bulam, language of the Timini, language of the Fulani.
Yeah.
Right? They speak the Atlantic Congo language. It's different than Mandang. But that's another thing to consider, is that when people came from Mandang, they came into a region that spoke a different language, that had a different culture. You understand? So maybe they didn't see themselves as Africans first. Like people always say, they sold their own people. Maybe they literally seen them as somebody completely different in those times, and you know, and was fighting over territory. Either way, the reason why I say that is because if you look at the Timini, which is one of the largest groups, the Fulani is the largest group of Atlantic speakers. The second largest group is the Timini people of Sierra Leone and Guinea, right? The majority of the Timini surnames are Mandang. Their history is that they came from Futa Jalon, and they're related largely to the Susu people, and they're also related to the Yalunka people. So, but linguistically, they're in a different language bracket. But you check their background, they're actually Mandang people who migrated and assimilated into a new region.
And
you understand
the
that?
other thing is you find all those groups you mentioned from Sierra Leone, you find them represented here in South Carolina. And you find them represented here in this Cope area heavily. It's no doubt about it that that Orangeburg itself, the Low Country itself, has a direct connection to Sierra Leone.
And cuz I think me and you done discussed this.
Now, Chief, now.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, then the thing cuz about people, you know, intermarrying and migrating. Me and you done talked about this, how that applies the same way here when it comes to the Sea Islands, the Low Country, and all over the South, but particularly South Carolina. The roots and essence might be this place here, but the branches extend inland. This is the same for those who are sold off or migrated up this way. Just because we may practice or do a little bit things that are different than what you do here, we're still interconnected.
Right. Well, you understand, right, brother, that the cotton gin, the invention of the cotton gin, it created a demand for more land overnight. More land was needed. You know what I'm saying? That's what stimulated the Louisiana Purchase. The American planter class wanted as much land as they could get, and if they was going to work that land, they would need more Africans.
Yeah,
you understand. And so there was a lot of illegal smuggling happening. There was Sierra Leone was one of the sources for smuggled Africans. That's why you have the story of the Amistad.
Yeah,
that's why you have it, because southern Sierra Leone, particularly the Vai people of Liberia, Sierra Leone, they had a kingdom. And they was trading directly with a slave trader from Cuba. His name was Pedro Blanco.
Right.
And Pedro Blanco was one of the most notorious slave traders. After it was banned, he was sitting over ships anyway and getting it done. They had a whole fortress called Lomboko in the South. And so when Dr. Lorenzo Doe Turner checked the language of the people in the Sea Islands and went over to Africa, he was like, yo, the majority of the language that's preserved among the Gullah Geechees is Mandang languages of the Mende people and the Vai people.
Yep.
So imagine that now. Why would it be? How could it be? And then on top of that, right, because people haven't really, back when he was doing linguistic studies, the ethnology wasn't being done the way it is now. So he gave percentages to groups that have different ethnicity but speak the same Mandang language.
Right.
So when you categorize all the people that's speaking a Mandang language, whoa.
That's a lot.
Whoa.
That's a lot.
And so one thing about Mandang culture is that we had every single element of civilization within our culture. People who spoke the language, we had blacksmiths, farmers, fishers, you name it. Whatever you needed, you can get it with a Mandang speaking person. And so they rated here for us, man. You know, we was highly
and those were the exact skills that were needed in South Carolina
to be applied on the plantations.
Yes,
that's right. That's right.
My
They import the
grandfather,
labor force.
my grandfather learned from his grandfather, who learned from his grandfather,
Vice versa.
and that's where that Fatty Al's connection to that part of the family right there.
Even our connection to cotton, it goes back further than just enslavement in North America.
Indigo as well.
Especially indigo. You had enslaved people. Matter of fact, I just found an account of a person. I think this thing was in Orangeburg that they said that they would use indigo to dye their clothing in. And I found
True Blue. That was True Blue plantation.
Yeah,
and the whole plantation called True Blue.
Yeah, and I found accounts that all over the South of people using different dyes, particularly indigo, to change their colors, different color.
Well, you know where the True Blue was? That was up there,
Calhoun.
St. Matthews. Yeah, Calhoun County, St. Matthews area. Those people, I think they were still speaking a Gullah dialect, even though they were far up from Charleston, all the way in Calhoun County. They were speaking a Gullah dialect.
Well documented.
Well documented.
Yeah, Calhoun was part of the Orangeburg district, and then also Julia Peterkins, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Her family plantation was up that way.
Yeah.
And so we hope to show all of this, show Orangeburg connection to the Gullah Geechee heritage and lineage. That's what this festival is all about.
We got a comment here. The brother says the first major slave revolt in this hemisphere was led by Wallace and a brother named Gonzalo Mandinka. This was at Christopher Columbus' son's plantation in 1521. And just to piggyback off what he's saying, it's absolutely true. Why? Because when you come down the coast of West Africa, are you talking about those times, the 1400s, 1500s? I'm talking about the British are not involved yet. The French are not involved yet. The North Western Europeans are not yet actively involved in navigating the West African coastlines. For all intents and purposes, is largely the Portuguese or the Spanish, right? So you got 1521, and of course, when he says Wallop, that would have been an easy snatch. That's the first Africans you encounter once you come down from Morocco.
Right.
The first ones you encounter is the Wallops. And the Mandinkas is right there. Think about it. Gambia and Senegambia is the same. They made them into two countries. Gambia, they say, is a majority Mandinka place. There's Mandinkas all over Senegal as well. So this was the first place where they really began to take African from. Long before they even knew there was a Congo or they even reached Nigeria or them parts, they had to pass this part of West Africa first. They had to go past this Senegambia, this quote-unquote rice coast, this Upper Guinea coastline to get down to Gambia, Ghana, to get down to Nigeria and around to the Congo. So the timeline is right, 1521. And just to add it out there as well, for those who don't know, we talk about Mandingos in the history of the South, for instance, right? And we look and we see and we understand that there was a man named Francisco Melendez. Yes, he was a Mandinka, and he was the one who actually built Fort Negro. He led the building of Fort Negro, which was the first independent black town created by black people who had ran away from slavery in Georgia and South Carolina. And so Mandingos has always been there. And if you think about it, if you don't know any ethnic group in Africa, you know about Mandingos if you're a black American. And it's always been like that. You will find white men saying all kinds of things about Mandinka people in their diaries. And it goes deep with Mandinkas, right? And particularly because they were the rulers of the Mali Empire. And at the time when Europeans encountered Africa, Mali was at its height. Mali was big. It was big time. So for South Carolina purposes, in 1526, South Carolina experienced its first major slave revolt. It was 1526. It was a slave revolt of 100 Africans is how many they said they took with them to the colony to help, clear the land and work for them. They was there for like a month and some change, man, before they
took off. They took off. They burnt the ship and ran off into the woods, and they was never seen again.
Exactly. And they was rebelling, and while they was rebelling, the Native Americans came and helped them overwhelm. So when they did run away, who you think they ran away with?
The Indians.
You know what I mean? So that's 1526, not 1619. It
No.
means that African Americans can claim to have been established in South Carolina almost 100 years before 1619 Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
As a consequence of a slave rebellion that happened against the Spanish when they tried to colonize South Carolina and Georgia initially.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of history to go into. They know exactly who people are. And you'll find Mandinka culture all over. Brazil, very, very prominent. You find it very, very prominent in Jamaica history, even Haitian history. And, you know, we're talking about Manding in particular only because you asked me particularly about here in Sierra Leone. Knowing what I know about the cultural heritage and the history, man, I love being here. I love being a Gullah Geechee. I love knowing that Orangeburg is Gullah Geechee's own. I love knowing that my family comes from the south of this country. I also been able to meet and connect with people in other countries that I'm related to. So it's been a great experience, but I'm telling you, Baba, when you come here, you're going to know exactly what it feels like to be in your ancestral homeland.
Yeah.
It's wicked. It's because, you know, bro, look, we Black Americans. We grow up, we African booty scratchers, man. They teach us not to care about Africa, man.
And the stumpers and all of that.
Then you find out where you're from and you go there.
Mm-hmm.
And you see people that look like your family, and you hear language that's familiar to your ears, and you eat food that you know your granny can cook. Your mama used to make this.
Exactly.
And do something to your consciousness, for sure.
Well, I've been invited, man, not only by you, but several African DNA cousins have invited me. So I'm going to get there. But I want Orangeburg to know that we are connected to the area, to West Africa, to Sierra Leone, and we want to showcase that heritage here in Orangeburg.
Right. 100% right. People got to be open. People also got to be open to receive this too, man. You can't be so ignorant and thinking that you know everything, or you go by what you assume. Like, no.
Yeah, it's not only that, but you know, you got to realize, like, whatever we became on that side in South Carolina, you know, we have to look at it and understand it that we didn't control it.
Yeah,
it wasn't under our control.
No, it wasn't.
But we developed certain common ways throughout that make us belong to the same cultural community today. I think it's a goal. I think that when we look at this, then we're able to say, okay, we can look at Gullah Jack, and we can look at the story of our ancestors resisting Cato, and, you know, the Stono Rebellion, and we can directly connect to it. Like, yo, like that's my bloodline, that's my people.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, that's not just an American story.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
That's difference. And make a difference when you can tie your own family history to the general history as a whole. I know for me, when I see the things that was happening in history, and I know that certain family members were alive at that time or whatever, I said, oh snap, this is what they went through. This is what they had to go through. This is why they act a certain way. This is why we, you know, do certain things.
Right.
You know, that's what I get out of it, man. You know.
Yeah. Gotta understand the context.
To live your cultural heritage is a revolutionary act.
Yeah, man. Say that.
You know
Say that,
so
man.
You have to be willing to be yourself and to embrace your African side.
Yeah, man. And you know that's a big part of mental health. You know what I'm saying? It's a big part of mental health is living in your right self.
It's
living
healing,
in your right state of mind.
It's healing your generational line. That's what it's doing. It's healing. You know, you're healing the trauma that was handed down through your family for generations. These discoveries and research help us to heal. I'm sure the ancestors are smiling. They get a kick out of what we're doing, and that's why certain things are happening to us. Because, man, I mean, look at the way we doing this straight off the muscle. Straight off the muscle. Ain't nobody giving us nothing now. We just doing this you know, and they love it. Their ancestors love it,
That's
and
right.
we want y'all to come out and be a part of this thing because we want to share it with the rest of the community.
Right.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I think this opens up an opportunity for us to now engage in intercommunal discourse, discussions, and partnerships. Because the reality is that, like we were saying the other day, it's not the federal government's responsibility to finance our preservation, and then we'd be upset because it don't go the way that we think it should go. The reality is that now that we understand that, we have something to preserve, we have something to to protect, then I think we should move all ops to the side and get about our business.
And this is
Some people are gonna respect the others ain't.
and this environment, this is what has to be done. This is what has to be done because this current administration is probably trying to wipe out all our history. You see it every day on the news. They're taking names off of this. They're removing people from DEI and all of this stuff here. So it's up to us to preserve our history, our culture, and live it. And like I say, man, that's what this festival is all about. Is bringing us all together as one, so we can do other things. So we can grow from here.
Yeah.
So we can grow from here.
Yeah, that goes along with what Professor Fordham said. You got to do guerrilla teachings. It got to be within the community.
Yeah, man. Speaking of that, man, the other day on Monday, we you wasn't with us, but can you talk about what you was doing?
Yeah, I was with esteemed, prominent, well-established scholar, and also my 8th grade history teacher, Mr. Curry. I went back to my old school, my old school at Hunter Kennard Tyler, HKT, and did a career day, showcasing those bottles that I found back in November. And I it was just fun, man. Like, it was just so fun, and I had amazing, and then I was able to network with different people as well. That's the type of work I love to do, man, and I want to do more of.
Yeah. So did you do a presentation? Did you?
Yeah,
did you
I did. After Curry would speak on his family history and how it relates to Orangeburg, then I would coincide afterward and can do the connecting of the dots as well.
Wow, that's powerful, man. And
That's good, man.
yeah, that's what we mean by education. It ain't always got to be in the classroom. It always got to be, the way it used to be. But those of us who have the knowledge, the local historians, we got our work cut out.
Yeah,
we got to cover every school. We got to make sure that we have the clearances to go in and address and teach the real history properly to these young folk. Because when you think about the way that the system has our young people right now, it's like there's nothing in place for them to truly know this information and be able to derive some inspiration, some motivation from where we come from.
Yeah.
So yeah, I commend you on that. That's what we got to do. This festival that we're doing is one platform. Eventually, we're going to organize these conferences. We want to organize these round tables in the community. Get the people out to talk about what we can do with this culture, what we can do with these resources, with this knowledge. To make the community better. But yeah, man, that's what it's about. It's the activism part. That's why I want you to talk about it, because you ain't just a talking head on social media.
No,
you know what I mean. Now you tapping into them roots.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to tour them schools, man. We're gonna have to go to all the different schools in the county, man.
If necessary, then so be it, man.
Yeah, man.
Open to it.
But Kimo, I know you hype, man.
I am, man. I am glad that the young man had the chance to experience that with his mentor, Dr. Curry. That's going to be great for you down the road, man. You already got your career lined up for you, man. All you got to do is stick to the path, man. And you will never work a day in your life because you enjoy what you do. You know, so now all you got to do is, man, just
be you
with it. Just stick with it, man. Just
right. I appreciate you.
I'm looking forward to some books and maybe some documentaries from you, brother.
Oh yeah. Look out. Not right now, but be on the lookout down the road.
Yeah, for sure. So yesterday we went over the everybody who was going to be there. So anybody want to check it out, go back and check out the video from yesterday and get caught up You get an understanding of who you can expect to be performers and speakers at the event. Some of the vendors. We had a great conversation yesterday. We had Sister Dooney here with us, our media director with us. She's been doing her thing, but I think we all right. We done met the hour.
Yeah,
we done met the hour, y'all. So what y'all want to do? Y'all want to keep going? Y'all want to get up out of here?
Hey, I'm gonna let y'all do what y'all do, man. Hey, I'm here chilling.
Hey, well, I'm here till the wife get back, man. Then once she get back, I'll go get something to eat. But I was talking to Brother Benu this morning, and Benu is hype. He's ready to get up on the stage and do his thing. I'm anxious to see, him do his rap thing, because I was raised on hip hop. I'm from the original hip hop era,
old school,
old school to the bone. So I like to see what kind of mic skills the young man got. Who knows? Maybe I might show him something. You never know if I get that feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. We always, hey, Don, we always talking about Orangeburg connections to hip hop, right?
Right.
We always trying to emphasize, let you know, like we done produce some greats.
Oh yeah.
But Baba Akimo was one too, man. Baba Akimo was there on the scene. He was at
He told me.
some of the first parties. He was all that.
Yeah, I did it. From the time I was maybe 15 years old, I was out there. I was running in that hip hop crowd, man. I've been to all the little clubs, parties, block parties, from South Bronx to Harlem Road. I've been through it. My little brother, we used to get on the mic and rip it. Well, he used to get on the mic and rip it. I was more of a b-boy type, dancer type.
Yeah.
But that was a great time. That was a great time.
Man.
Yeah.
That's good. So we got some artists coming out who gonna be doing their thing. I'm not gonna be there physically, man, but I'm looking forward to the videos. I want to see what Benu do. Cause Benu been talking like he ready to go drop the mic, so I want to see it happen.
Right. I got you when it comes to videos and pictures, man. I got you.
Yeah, Sister Yogi too. Yogi gonna be doing her thing. She said she's gonna do some storytelling, so that's gonna be dope. Again, y'all, March 22nd, Saturday, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. We're gonna be live at the Cosmic Green Spot, Charleston Highway, Orangeburg. We'll be coming together to celebrate Orangeburg's Gullah Geechee heritage, live and direct. It'll be an educational event as well as a fun event. So come out, support our vendors, and bring the cameras, man. We're gonna be promoting this culture heavily, for sure. I'm actually gonna get out of here. This iPad is getting low in power. I want to monitor the power. Y'all know where I'm at.
Yeah.
Yeah, wifey just hit me up. I got to take her to lunch.
There you go. So we're gonna holler y'all tomorrow. Actually, we might it might be a little shorter. We might just come on and top it up for a couple minutes because we got this meeting with the rest of the people. But y'all have a good rest of y'all day. And remember, promote. Get the people out there. All roads lead to
Orangeburg. We're gonna put Orangeburg on the map, and stay tuned for even bigger things after the festival.
Right.
That's right. It's only the beginning.
There goes little sis. Your sister just popped up.
Yeah, I see her. Blessings. Peace, Fee. How you doing? She said she was going to try to get down there, man, but she having some conditions right now with her body. But next year, hopefully we can take a bus load from York, Pennsylvania to Orangeburg because we descended from Orangeburg.
Right.
Most of the black people in York City.
Felicia's been here. I met Felicia when she came down here before, so I know she know her way around the burg. She went all the way out to she went out to Cedar Grove, I believe, when she was here. So she know how to get around.
Okay, that's what's up.
Yeah. My great aunt used to be the first lady out there with what's his name? Jamison. That was his name.
Right.
Reverend Louis Jamison.
Yeah.
Yeah. He married my aunt Captain McClellan. Captain McClellan became Captain Jamison.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
People, Jamisons.
All right, hey, y'all have a good one over there.
All right,
peace. All right, brother.